thing is, Mandi messages me, is there anything you want from Canada? And I said, oh, you know me, I always love a few Canadian sweets. You grab me a couple of candies, right? I'm not afraid to ask for what I want.
No, of course.
Then Mandi, when we meet up in Gen Con, goes, flunk, and she drops this massive bag at my feet, and it's like a big cloth shopping bag, half full of candy.
This episode is sponsored by Druid City Games.
It's time for the Sultan Sass podcast, when we talk about our love for the wonderful world of board games with you, whether you are a gaming veteran or just starting your tabletop journey. Welcome to episode 25. And heyo, for those of you who are listening only, you aren't seeing our video, but it's kind of a fun one because sitting literally right next to me in the same room right now is the one, the only, Mandi Hutchinson.
Hello, everybody. Yes, it's so great to be in the lovely city of Seattle.
Ooh, Seattle. So we are recording just after Gen Con occurred, and Mandi kindly came over and is spending more than a few days over at my place. So this is a pretty rare opportunity for us to record together in person. And Mandi, thank you so much for all of your technical work to make this magic happen so we can... It took some finagling, folks. So thank you, Mandi, so much for that. But yeah, folks, today we're going to have kind of a different episode because of this opportunity, because we're just back from Gen Con and things are a little banana pants anyway. So we thought we would be sharing some of our experiences at Gen Con and trying to talk about some of the things we did, highlight some things that we saw. And then because Mandi's literally here, we've been playing board games, folks.
All the games.
And so we'll probably talk a little bit about all the different games we've been playing. Now, most of them we've only had a chance to play once, so we're not really going to do reviews per se, but we'll highlight a few and pop up a few of the first impressions that stood out to us.
Yes, this is going to be, like my brain, fast and free episode. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think people will be happy we're doing it together, talking all the things, and then we'll be back with our regular programming the next time.
Indeed. So let's talk about Gen Con. Folks, for those of you who don't know, Gen Con is, of course, the largest board game, or I heard it's not board game. It's gaming.
Yeah, I think it would be
analog tabletop gaming.
Yeah,
because so much TTRPGs and things like that as well in the United States. And oh boy. So obviously we are, coming into a phase where conventions are starting up in person again, when health restrictions have lifted because of the current state of the pandemic. And last year, Gen Con was Gen Con. They cut back a little bit. This year, it's back, baby. It is back, and it is full. So they actually sold out of 4-day passes and Saturday passes. That's a lot of people, Mandi.
Oh, it's wild. I mean, it was great to see everybody having a good time, but it was a lot.
Yep. And I know because, again, one of my roles in the industry is I also work with restoration games, so keep that in mind. But that does give me some insights from that side of the house. And all of the publishers were just talking about how full and busy, unexpectedly busy.
Yeah.
Thursday was the first day of the convention. Traditionally, Thursday is a little bit slower. It's a nice day to acclimate, get set up, test the waters, figure out if you need to move things. Of course, there's always a hot game or two that people are rushing the gates for and things like that. But I think it's fair to say that many exhibitors were completely taken by surprise about the absolute crush that happened on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, I heard. I mean, it was a lot.
It was a lot. So publishers were selling out. Publishers were realizing, oh, maybe we didn't bring enough stock, things like that. Games that have been out for a couple of years. A lot of times Gen Con is about the new hotness.
Right.
And so publishers tend to bring more copies of newer games, things like that. And they bring some older stuff too, but they don't have necessarily huge expectations around that. Not this year, folks, because what I think a lot of publishers were finding is, yes, you had all the new hotness, and people were buying things that were a year old, 2 years old,
True.
3 years old. And once the new hotness was out, people were there to get some new games.
Yeah.
So regardless of what they could find, if something caught their eye and they hadn't spent their budget, they were picking it up. So it was wild. It was absolutely wild and exciting. It was thrilling. Just speaking from Restoration Games' point of view, they had a booth and an event space, and they have a game called Thunder Road Vendetta right now, which has turned out to be a pretty popular game. I can safely say that Restoration Games was not expecting people running for the booth at gate open to pick up this special Kickstarter edition.
Wow,
It
really?
it was
know
a
that.
madhouse. We literally had a line around our booth, our neighbor's booth. Sorry, All Play Games, you're the best. Really appreciate you. All the way around, and people like waited in a line for an hour just to be able to buy a copy of the game.
Wow, I didn't know.
It was a lot, and I mean, the day is overwhelming when Rob Davio spends 5 hours just restocking shelves in your booth. We had, Spiel des Jahres award-winning designer Rob Davio just restocking shelves for hours on end. That's how busy it was. So,
wow.
Needless to say, and you're going to hear these stories.
Sure.
If you are online and you're, reading up on recaps from publishers all around, it was like that. There's nothing special about Restoration. It was like that for many exhibitors at Gen Con, which is exciting.
Sure.
Intimidating.
That's a lot too.
But exciting. So, I think that they were saying around 75,000, 80,000 turnstiles on Saturday.
That's a lot.
People. Of course, there was some drama where there was a kind of a heist of...
Oh, that. I thought you were talking about Lorcana.
No, there was Lorcana, right? The big thing at the show was Disney Lorcana.
Right.
Did you get any?
No, I didn't even bother. Honestly, it's gonna come to the stores. Like, my friend's already saying that he's gonna get some next week. Honestly, I'll get it when I get it, or I'll try it when I try it. But it was wild. Like, it was wild.
Yeah, people were lining up overnight.
Yeah,
people were trying to camp, and there was some line management issues and some, safety issues and things like that popped up. I know that both Gen Con and Ravensburger did their best to kind of try to deal with that, but I think some lessons were learned.
Absolutely. And was that something that's happened at Gen Con before? Like, I don't even know.
I would assume so.
Maybe.
I don't
nothing
know.
that I remember.
I don't know. That whole CCG Disney coming together and colliding with a debut.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Ooh, that's a lot to throw into the mix.
That's what I thought you were talking about, but no, I forgot. There was something else that happened. So yes, talk about this.
Right. So for those of you who may not have heard, although I imagine a lot of you have heard, there was a major theft at Gen Con. Now, we actually used to hear about thefts at Essen a lot.
All the time.
Just because of the way security works and cash box management and things there. But nothing like this. So at Gen Con this year, an entire pallet of Magic the Gathering cards valued at like $300,000. $300,000. Over $250,000.
Went bye-bye.
Walked out. Two guys bold as all get out. Pallet jack. Crank, crank, crank. Do, 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 do.
Right.
Stroll right out.
Like, no mask, nothing. Like, their faces are
They could have been wearing masks. Like, there's a legit reason why they could have covered their faces. They didn't.
We're not condoning that at all. But obviously they thought that, we're not going to get caught. Well, guess what? You're going to get caught. So, so that was...
Yep, but they are hot. Last check that I did, which was granted a day or two ago, the police have identified some suspects, and they are eagerly pursuing said people. So we will keep an eye on that news for sure.
Stealing is bad.
Yeah, stealing. Don't steal.
Don't steal.
Don't steal. It's just a game, but it's a lot of money too.
Sure.
Zoinks. So that was some of the other thing is that, the reality is Mandi and I are members of the community, so we know a lot of people. We're on a lot of social media channels, and unfortunately, seen a lot of reports of COVID-19 contractions as well.
Yeah.
You're going to throw 80,000. It was a crush, folks. There were definitely, and because it's not always like, I think the slowest day was actually like Friday afternoon of all things.
Yeah, it didn't seem as wild as other days.
But beyond that, it was often body to body crush, just scooching forward, trying to get anywhere, which is annoying. You can't, and I would say, Mandi, you and I, we were basically masked anytime in the hall for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say we were less than 2% of attendees masking. It was very clear that Gen Con attendees didn't choose to mask there. I did. Knock on wood, Mandi and I are both negative.
Right.
Thankfully, but unfortunately, even some friends that were masking pretty consistently contracted COVID at Gen Con, which I think there's a larger discussion to be had about safety regulations and the trade-offs that people make. Certainly people who work in the industry, and Gen Con's not a fun event. It's a work event for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the choices that you have to make about personal safety and things like that. But not surprising, unfortunately.
No, and that's part of the reason why I was like, no, got to make sure I'm masked, because I had been hearing cases in other areas had been happening.
Yeah, we're having a summer surge in the United States right now, for sure.
Right, so.
And, really, I think part of the reason why it's important for somebody like me to mask, I'm generally healthy, and as far as I know, I've never had the virus, is the people around me. Because if I contract it and I don't know it, I could spread it to others. And one of the things that I noticed at Gen Con is there was to me, maybe I haven't paid attention before, but there was a more noticeable presence of visibly disabled individuals attending. And oftentimes disabled individuals are more susceptible to things like that. And we want to protect our fellow gamers as much as I can, at least. And Mandi, I know that you played a special role at Gen Con, and that was something, for example, that you were spending extra time paying attention to at this show specifically.
Right. Yes. So myself and Aaron, who we talked about on a previous show.
Aaron Trammell.
That we had, we discussed his book. So
The Privilege of Play.
Thank you. I usually have notes, everybody, so I like to.
No, we're winging it. It's no notes day.
So thank goodness I have a good memory here with Suzanne. But we're part of the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Committee with Gen Con. So you probably, if you were there, you probably saw me not necessarily walking around, scooting around in my little scooter, or possibly with my cane, because I still have an injury. So it was really nice, actually, to see that some things had been implemented at Gen Con. So I don't know if anybody took advantage of the accessibility booth. So it's great. You can go there, get a bracelet. So that way, if you wanted to visit panels or anything like that, you were able to have time in advance to get in and settle yourself in a section that was easily accessible for certain groups of people. So I did also take advantage of some of these things to see how it works. That was part of my job. So in that sense, I was able to go around, try a few of these services, and these are all things that we're going to be discussing as a group with the council. So accessibility was one thing. We were looking at some of the potential, the rooms like the BIPOC Lounge, which was very popular. And it was a great space to see a ton of different people in this room. So I was really glad to see that picking up steam, and make the Latin room, LGBTQ2+ room, so there were lots of different rooms that have been happening over the years, and we want to see how those have been growing, and events with them have been growing. I also took time to talk. I just talked to everybody. So even if you're like, well, I don't fit into any of these groups, it doesn't matter. I want to get everybody's experience. So I ran around and had chats with all different types of people. What was your experience, good or bad? And I'm going to take that back to the council. We're going to have a debrief, like a discussion. And if we feel there are things that need to be done better, we're going to try our best to do that. It's not perfect, but that's why we're doing this every year, to make sure that we're trying to make Gen Con a better place for everybody. So if you did see me, glad you said hello. And I know I got some emails from some people. I will be going through those after my vacation here. And if I didn't get a chance to see you, I will be there next Gen Con for sure. So you can always find me, say hi, and let me know how things are going.
Indeed. I mean, it was really fabulous when Mandi, when you and I got to be on the floor together, kind of checking things out. And I was impressed with how you're pretty outgoing. And
yes.
Well, when you need to be.
When I need to be.
You were definitely very proactively reaching out to people. Hey, how's the show going for you? If we were in line, and you would chat up the people in line with us and see how it was going, if there was any questions they had, if there were things that they thought could use improvement. And you were definitely getting feedback. And so I know that actively soliciting in person, along with, any of our friends out there that might be watching or listening. You really do send Mandi that feedback, because she really wants it.
Yeah.
She really wants it.
No, absolutely. And in my situation, it was temporary, right? I'm only temporarily using a cane and chair. So I don't live this life all the time. So it's really nice to hear from people who do live that life, or, just getting general experiences, how the convention was. So yes, I want to hear all the things, good and bad. People think I only want to hear good things. I don't, because there were things that I struggled with at Gen Con in that scooter.
Yeah.
Trying to get up to a booth was really difficult. The aisles were wide, but still trying to get in was a little frustrating. So I felt that, and I'm sure other people felt that too. So totally want to hear that. So yeah, so for right now, the email, and we'll drop it at the end of the show as well. But hopefully I'll have a separate email, so those will be looked at, not in our Salt and Sass box.
Yeah, right. And one of the accountability things I found really interesting, and I think, Mandi, you helped connect me with some of the members at Gen Con, is I had the honor of moderating a Q&A session with the Gen Con team,
right,
and the DEI committee members as well, as part of their accountability, where they reported on their DEI efforts since last year, what programs that they've implemented or grown or leaned into, areas that they've identified that they still need to improve on or will be future focus areas, things like that. So thanks for Mandi for that.
No,
I thought it was really interesting to listen to. That was a public session. Now, unfortunately, as far as I know, they didn't record it, right, Mandi?
No, this is something we talked, as soon as done, I'm like, we should record this. And then we're all like, yeah, we should record this. So again, something we're going to do next year, definitely, so we can look back and see some of the comments. I did take notes, but yes, it would be nice to have that recorded for next time.
And if this is an area that you're interested in, it was a public session. It just wasn't recorded, but you are welcome to attend. It's on the calendar. And I'll be honest, I wasn't aware of everything that Gen Con was implementing.
Sure.
And it was very nice to hear about it there. And I definitely have my constructive feedback to them on areas that I think it would be important for them to continue to lean into and improve upon. I've given the president of Gen Con that feedback directly now at this point. But I do think it's important that we acknowledge progress where progress has been made. And it's very clear that for the last few years, Gen Con is prioritizing making Gen Con a leader in our tabletop hobby space, in being inclusive, diverse, and safe, and growing the hobby in a happy, healthy way for a lot of different kinds of people. And so I know it's in your way, but don't forget that that's an option for people to visit and contribute to if you're so interested in. Along with that, I got to be on a couple of other panels, which I don't do every convention, but it's always fun. So I got to do, Mandi, a panel hosted by the Fundamentals that was about tabletop media, because we're sitting here, a lot of talk, and I think it's interesting to be on those because I kind of bring that both sides of the coin perspective, from a publisher marketing perspective now, but also from having been a podcaster and a content producer for a decade now in this space. And that was really, really fun. I enjoyed that a lot. But I have to say, my favorite panel that I got to be on was actually the one hosted by BackerKit, which was about crowdfunding do's and don'ts.
Nice.
And I got to be on that with Lindsay Rode from Rose Gauntlet, and Heather O'Neill from Ninth Level, and Jason Fury from BackerKit was the host and moderator.
Right.
And it had nice attendance, probably about 40, maybe 50 people, 40 in there.
That's a decent amount
Yeah,
for a panel. It's good.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody in the audience was really eager people who wanted ideas and advice on how to get their campaign. And these are largely people who hadn't run one or were in a very small attempt before, that kind of thing. And I have to say, it was really inspiring to, if any of y'all out there happened to be there, I just want to share that it was really inspiring for me to see you all and to hear these stories and just to see all the creativity and hunger for people to bring their passion and their ideas and their pet project out into the world. And that was super fun for me to see. And it was great because, somebody would say something and then you'd see all these people in the audience like writing down with their pen and taking notes. And that was like, okay, well, wow, I feel really good about whatever just happened there.
I love that.
That was a great panel, and a good reminder that, Gen Con also offers all of these panels by people who, mostly know what they're talking about.
I mean, yeah, it's nice to see that, especially when there's people in community and they can connect to that. I also wanted to jump back because I wanted to do a shout out to Tanya DePass because on the DEI council, she was there before me, and I know she really pushed for a lot of initiatives that you see now, and I think it is good to credit her because she did a lot of really hard work. This was my first year. I think I did some good work too, but she did lay down some really nice foundations. So shout out to Tanya. Thank you so much for that. And I wanted to make sure that you were acknowledged.
Yeah, and for people who aren't familiar with Tanya DePass, she also founded and heads up I Need Diverse Games, which is another group that focuses on improving diversity and inclusion in the gaming space as well. And I encourage you all to go and check that out and learn more about that program as well. And check out Tanya, like she's a gamer and a streamer and streams video games all the time.
Online,
yeah, she's great.
So,
she's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we talked about panels, we talked about attendance. What else did we see, Mandi? What else did we talked in our Gen Con thing. I will say from our Game Pie last episode,
yes,
I did get a copy of my #1 game, Spy X Family Mission for Peanuts. I got it.
I can confirm this.
It was $15.
That's not bad.
Right? I was like, just
not bad at all.
Take all my money. And so I was very, very happy about that. I didn't get all of the games on my wish list, which is fine. But I got my #1.
What else was there anything else on your wish list? I know that was the big one, but
I mean, there were a lot like Shake That City, but they didn't have all this other stuff. But it's not a big deal. But I also got, and I should have brought them for the video feed, but I got some really cute stickers. I visited Artist Alley and the artist booths in a different way this year. I actually spent a little more time.
Me too.
They're growing.
Yeah.
And
nice stuff in there.
I think with technology and creativity and all this, folks, there are so many cool accessories and art pieces and artists and things like that. I got some amazing bird stickers and a bird notebook from an artist that I liked, and I signed up for a few mailing lists from artists that had just amazing pieces of tech. If I want to like try to get posters home from a Gen Con, no thank you. But visiting Artist Alley was just, I'm going to prioritize that more in the future than I have in the past because I had a blast.
I spent a lot of time in Artist Alley. Unfortunately, I only bought from one stand, and I'm sorry, the name, I should have written this down. It's Lauren Brown. I apologize. I'm going to have to look that up. So I'm going to make sure somewhere in this episode that I make sure I get that name. But I believe she's the one who did the cover for the Gen Con magazine. And I went down to her booth. I actually met her a couple, I don't know if it was PAX or another convention, but I bought a notebook from her. And trust me, I wanted to buy more things. But I'm like, no. Save your money because I had to do other things. And the problem is I buy art and then I never hang it up. It just sits in the closet. And okay. I spent a lot of money.
Well, what did you spend your money on then?
Okay, well, I got the notebook I was telling you about because I was looking for a book to write, a place to write things for my solo RPGs. I know. No one get on me about solo, okay? Solo RPGs are different. So I didn't bring them all here because thank you, Ryan, if you're listening, for bringing a lot of my games back home for me. But I did grab a couple of them. Quickly go through them. So I have two here, Secrets of the Vibrant Isle and Secrets of the Vibrancy. So for those who are perhaps listening only, they're kind of a smaller book, and it's called like Ocean Exploration. So they're almost like adventure type books, and on the cover it has like sea people or sea creatures on it with that kind of turquoisey background. So it's very water-esque. And I haven't started these, but it's the base and the base game and the expansion and the expansion of it, so it continues the story. So this was my thing. I'm trying to do some journaling RPG, so like that I've had before, and we'll talk about more of those at another time. But I wanted something that had a bit more dice rolling or card flipping, or just where I could make decisions. Yeah, I'm trying more of these adventure type books. So that's those are ones that I looked at. And then there's another one, Lost in the Dark.
I'm gonna have to get a copy of this. I think I've been watching and listening to you play it here when I've been working, and it looks fun.
So good. And for those who are just listening, it literally is dark. On the cover, it looks like you're in a cave and there's like a lone little figure on the front. And this is a solo play adventure. And I think this is their first one like this. And it uses the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons system. So if you're used to that, great. If not, it actually takes 2 pages to like walk you through how to create your character, how to use your stats and things like that. So it's very, very good. And it is like a thicker one. So I feel like there's lots of adventure, 3 acts. Very excited. Last one that I brought with me, because I did buy more. Yes, I spent a lot on solo RPGs, is My Brain is a Stick of Butter. This is a journaling one, but this is an introspective solo game about life with ADHD, and this is by Adam Bell. Right?
Perfect for you.
But what I like about this one, it's not only for people with ADHD, it's for people who don't have it, but maybe would like to have a better idea or experience of what it is. So it actually kind of makes you have that experience with someone with ADHD, which I think is really cool. So it's one that you can play over a week. And you're like, that's a lot of work. It's not. There are different things you can do on the different days, but it's very short snippets. I had never heard of this. Very excited to try it out. So those are just a few of the solo RPGs that I picked up. Oh, I spent way too much money, but here we are.
Well, what's interesting is I think all of those, well, one of the things I think is interesting is all of those are from smaller publishers. So you're really supporting indie creators by doing that. So that's money well spent. Yeah. And I've only been hearing you play Lost in the Dark. And it looks and sounds like a blast. So I will be also investing in that one. I think I need to, because that looks just perfect. The kind of solo RPG I like as well.
I think and I'll probably end up doing a solo stream at some point of this because they've offered to send me the PDFs, which will be a lot easier. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. And if you're like, Mandi, absolutely not, then I may not continue to do those. We'll see how it plays out.
Excellent. Folks, if you have any questions about Gen Con or about our experiences, feel free to email us or message us on social media. We're happy to. We're kind of just, we've been, whirlwinding around. So if we forget something, maybe we'll bring it up next episode or something as well.
There's
so
a lot
we'll talk
on.
more. I mean, Gen Con was a lot. So. See, just like that.
No, if we're done with Gen Con, just quickly, because I know we're going to move into games soon. Just so you know, everybody, Suzanne is now playing Diablo 4. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay. Mandi, for those of you who haven't had the ultimate pleasure of meeting or spending time with Mandi or have gotten to know her, maybe through our podcast over the last 5-6 years together, Mandi is Canadian. And she's a lovely individual. She's a beautiful individual inside and out. And she's so friendly and kind and, very mindful. No, folks. Mandi is pushy AF. Mandi is I want what I want. I'm going to make it happen. Whether oh my goodness gracious. So here's Mandi. I'm going to buy you. She tells me, I'm going to buy you Diablo 4. I'm like, I don't want you to buy me Diablo 4. And the next thing she knows, then she says, I can't buy it for you because of Xbox weirdness. I'm like, oh, good. But the next thing I know, we're at a grocery store together and she's literally shoving Xbox gift cards that she had purchased into my purse. And she's like, these are for Diablo 4.
I mean, I'm staying in your house for free. Literally.
What?
No.
You're you're visiting.
Doesn't matter. Literally. Listen, anybody who's from the Caribbean or any other place, you don't come to someone's house empty-handed. Got to bring them a little something. And I mean,
okay,
you're feeding
Speaking of bringing a little something, so not only that, so now I'm playing Diablo 4. My son is playing Diablo 4 too with us. Mandi is like our little Diablo 4 guide because she's level.
I'm like not that high. I'm only 71. I know there are people who are 100. Okay, I haven't been playing for a while, but
I think I'm level 14.
I'm melting things. I'm just trying to get them, higher up.
So Mandi's our Diablo guide, helping us level up so that we can speed into the game and get buff. It's actually a ton of fun. So we're having a lot of fun. So thank you, Mandi.
You're welcome.
But you say like you can't come in. You didn't come empty-handed because the other thing is, Mandi messages me. Is there anything you want from Canada? And I said, oh, you know me. I always love a few Canadian sweets. Grab me a couple of candies, right? I'm not afraid to ask for what I want.
No, of course.
Then Mandi, when we meet up in Gen Con, goes, flunk, and she drops this massive bag at my feet, and it's like a big cloth shopping bag, half full of candy.
I mean, yes.
Just dozens and dozens. This thing is 10 pounds at least. And my whole family's making good use of it, though. So thank you.
Great. I mean, I'm really happy about this. I see that the Arrow and
Canadian chocolate's really good.
Arrow and Caramel seem to be favorites here. I know coffee for crisp is good, but I've been seeing wrappers.
I hide them because I don't want my kids to take them from me.
Fair.
Anyway, so we've been doing Diablo.
Yeah,
and that's been a lot of fun.
It's been good.
And Mandi's also forcing me to watch Love Island with her.
Come on, though. You have to admit, when you watch it together, it's entertaining because we have commentary.
I would never watch this show alone. Never. It's just not my thing. And more power to folks that are super into reality TV. I'm not. But watching it with you,
it's fun.
It's next level.
Exactly. It's great.
Judge all you want, folks. We deserve it.
Exactly.
Woo. So that's our Gen Con. And our post-Gen Con visit.
Exactly.
So far.
So far.
We did get review copies of games. We did buy games at Gen Con, and we have been playing games. So why don't we just talk a little bit about some of the games that you and I have been playing together?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk games.
Alrighty. We have been playing games of all sorts, video games and lots of board games.
Of course.
Mandi, you were pretty insistent on, because I had purchased a copy of this before it won the Spiel des Jahres. We're such hipsters.
Right. And I mean, I don't even know about this game because of you. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people also in line who only know this game because of you.
Well, the video game.
The video game. Fine.
We have been playing Dorf Romantik.
Yes.
Dorf Romantik is a board game based on a video game, which was inspired by a board game.
Yeah.
Follow me on that journey. It's a tile laying game using hexagonal tiles where you're creating groupings of different terrain types or villages. You're creating rails and water. And in the video game, it's known for being very pastoral and calm and pleasant and stressful because of the way the tile economy works and things like that. It is a great video game. I've played way too many hours of it and I love it. And then, but it was clearly inspired by tile laying board games. So here, then out of nowhere, they're like, well, we're going to make it a board game.
Exactly.
And, it's always a little like, okay.
How's this going to go?
How's this going to go? How are you going to translate this digital experience into a board game? I mean, I felt like it was obvious because it was already tiling just in a virtual space.
Right.
But here they come. So, Mandi, you have played more of this. So, Dorf Romantik, the board game, tile laying game, they've definitely streamlined it, the rules. But what they've really done is made it kind of a campaign game.
Yes, which is, well, I wasn't sure how this was going to go because I don't play a lot of campaign games, but let me back up. So this was published by Pegasus Spiel?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And it's by Lucas, Zach, and Michael Palm. Yes, I know we're not doing
And it is cooperative.
Yes, cooperative. You can play it solo, but it is cooperative. And I mean, my game group has been playing this a lot. This has been like the game we played before the bigger games because we can bang out like 3 or 4 of them because it doesn't take too long to play. So I like the campaign aspect because there are boxes and things to open.
Yeah, there are discoverables, which is super fun in any game.
So I don't want to go into too deep. I mean,
no spoilers. Yeah.
No spoilers. But yeah, so like I like it because new things come out. So if you're familiar with the video game, then you'll be like, ooh, okay, I remember this. So I do enjoy that they kind of stay close to that sort of thing and then kind of put them in some of the fun things you would get in the video game, but put them in boxes. So it's a bit of a surprise when you get there. Some of these goals are a little tricky, but then that forces you just to focus on a few more things, like when we played that game last night.
Right. And you have played through more of it with your personal group at home than you've played here, right?
Yeah, like we are literally
I've played 4 games with you now, but you've gone like way deeper.
We're at I think we're at the end.
Okay.
We're at the end. So we have like maybe 1 more game or 2 more games, but then there's no like end per se. Like there is, like you'll see the content, but then you can replay it again.
Totally.
So which seems like it's that kind of game. And honestly, I've shown this to people at home and they're like loving it. So
I'll be honest, I can see why it won. I can see why it was nominated. I can see why it won. And I think I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yep.
I think it works well. You and I were talking earlier when we were playing. You and I play cooperative games quite well together.
Yeah, because no one's bossy.
What?
Okay. You know what I mean? That person's like, actually, no, put it here. It's more of a, what do you think about it here?
Right.
I like it here. It's almost like we give like our reasoning and then, but we're receptive if you're like, actually, I think it go here because of X. That makes sense. Versus the person's like, no, put it here because I said so. That generally tends to not go so well.
Exactly. So I've really, and I think my other game folks that I play games with would enjoy it as well. Yeah. Of course, one of my local friends joined us for a couple of games as well, which is another interesting aspect. People can kind of drop in or out. You're not committing to this legacy thing where you have a specific role. Right. And if somebody drops out or somebody wants to join in, it's too late kind of thing. It's drop in, drop out. Yeah. Kind of a chill vibe, fun, puzzly thing. Sometimes, now there was a game where we definitely where we knew up front this was not going to go well.
It was bad.
But we did better than we thought we would. It was okay.
And we still got some, I'm going to say, progress points because you need those to get ahead to open those boxes. Now, was it like 5 progress points? No, it was more like 2. So that didn't really help us. But we learn from our mistakes. And there's a bit of luck. I mean, depending on what comes out. Right? Well, depend. Okay, now I'm just making excuses. It was a bad game. But But then we had a better game the next time. So
Yeah.
it works out.
I would honestly say, now, like I said, I've only played 4 games of it,
Right.
but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I am so impressed with how they took the essential parts of the video game experience and put it
Yes.
into this. And I can tell as we've unlocked some stuff, how they're only amping that up
Yep.
in a delightful way. And so if you are a fan of Dorf Romantik, the video game, I recommend the board game. And if you haven't tried the video game and you just like tile line games,
Sure.
I recommend this. If you like cooperative games, I recommend, like,
I would play
it
this
won for a
solo.
reason.
Like, I would play this solo.
Yeah, I've seen people comment that they've really enjoyed it solo.
So there you go. So Dorf Romantik, check it out.
Indeed. So why don't we talk about the game that made me super, super hungry the other day? Waffle Time. Waffle Time. Published by Alderac Entertainment, designed by
Maxime Demier. And let me see. We have some art direction, Neil Kimball. I like this. Illustration, egg butter toast.
It works. Waffle Time is a game about making the most scrumptious waffles. Heyo.
Delicious.
And you are actually drafting the toppings that you are going to be able to put on your waffle. Your personal player board literally looks like a giant Belgian waffle in front of you. Oh, it just starts off right there.
So good.
And then you have a mix of toppings. You have little cream dollops, and then you have a variety of fruit like sliced bananas and cherries and strawberries and blackberries. And then you have these little clear plastic, translucent plastic bits that are emulating syrup drops.
Yum.
And what you're doing is that you've got kind of a clever drafting board that lets you take 2 toppings each time, and there's some placement rules. And ultimately, you're trying to get certain fruits into patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get fruits into patterns, you can put syrup drops on them.
Yum.
And once the syrup drops are in a pattern, then you score victory points at the end of the game. The fruit itself will count for victory points at the end of the game as well. It plays in 8 quick rounds. Yep. And again, we've only played this once, but what was your first impression of it, Mandi?
I'm not gonna lie to you. First thing I saw it, I was like, oh, I don't know. It just looks like one of those games I just don't think is gonna be my jam or my syrup.
Oh.
Okay, that was real bad. I know.
You're next to me. I can smack you in person. I like this. I like this.
I know, right? It's so much easier. But actually, after playing it, I thought it was really fun. I really did enjoy. I think I liked the part where you had to like make the design or, you know, on the card designs to get the syrup. And then there were like the other designs to get the points, but you couldn't do those designs if you didn't do the other designs. And I think my brain forgot that. And I was like, oh, so you ended up being in a position where you're like, great, I'm not going to get those points. And Suzanne kicked my butt in this game because she obviously was paying a little bit more attention. But all that to say is when I first thought, I was like, I don't know. And then I started playing. I'm like, ooh, I like this. There's a little bit of a puzzly aspect that I'm enjoying. So I actually really enjoyed it. It was cute.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing again because even though I happened to win this game, I definitely felt like I wasn't being as strategic. And once you got into it, I saw how I needed to ladder up my planning.
Yes.
You know, how do I get the fruits out here? What's the optimal placement for that, for the syrup placement? And I really wasn't thinking ahead. So I'm going to pay a little more attention to that. But it definitely has strategic elements. And you can definitely do some planning. I thought the drafting mechanism was clever and fun, the way that you like pop around. But it is light.
Sure,
it's
definitely a lighter game.
So that is Waffle Time, published by AEG. Really enjoyed that one, and definitely, oh god, I would have wanted a waffle so much after that.
I like waffles.
Let's talk about Point City, published by Flat Out Games, also Alderac Entertainment Group as well. This is the sibling game to the very, very popular Point Salad card game. Point City is also a card game. And you know what, Mandi? I didn't open it up to the correct page. We're holding the rule books for everybody listening.
Yeah.
We like didn't do a ton of preparing because we're winging it.
We wanted to make sure we do our acknowledgments, so you know, just give us a moment.
So who do we have for a game design here?
So game design, we have Molly Johnson, Robert Melvin, and Sean Stankovic,
who are the dynamic trio behind Flat Out Games.
And for illustration, we have Dylan Mangini.
Mangini or Mangini?
Mangini.
Dylan's a very, very talented graphic designer who does a lot of t-shirts that I like to wear. That's
Very
cool.
cool.
I didn't realize Dylan was there. So Point City is a card drafting game set, like tableau building.
Tableau building?
City building in a way, right?
Yeah.
Where cards are double-sided. So one side has a resource and the other side will have a building. And the way that it works is you're going to lay out a grid. And some of the cards, when you take a resource, it gets replaced by a building. And when you take a building, it gets replaced by the resource side of the next card. And ultimately, you're just trying to collect resources to turn in to build a building card in front of you.
Yep.
And the building cards will provide kind of permanent resources as well as points and other benefits. There's some other details to nuance to the game as well. Very quick.
Yes.
Straightforward. Scale seems like it would scale well.
I mean,
first impressions, Mandi?
I'm not gonna lie to you. The colors were like, yes. The bright pinks and yellows and greens. Sorry, but it was like instant. I was like, ooh, tell me more. But it's the same as Point Salad. First thing I saw was, oh my gosh, the colors. And the game, again, like you were saying, it's light, but there's still like a little bit of strategy. Now, I thought my town looked quite good, but it definitely helps if you try to focus. If you're all over the place, I find that's going to make your life a little difficult, especially for that end game scoring. But overall, I really liked it. Now, I have some issues with the card quality, and I had issues with the card quality in Point Salad. I just find them a little flimsy, and because it's a card game, I feel that you really need to put a bit more stock in your card quality.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that one was an accident, but it just kind of worked. Okay, what about you?
I'm a big fan of Point Salad, and I was very excited. I like city build. I like the theme of building city, especially when there's something tiles or cards that represent different buildings. I love the graphic design style in this. The illustration style just really appeals to me. It's very simple, I don't know, but colorful, like you mentioned, Mandi, and things like that. So I was really excited. I really enjoy that double-sided card effect as well, and definitely one I'm looking forward to trying more in the future. And I really want to play it solo because I think this is the kind of game that I will crank out solo a lot.
Oh, we're missing one.
Okay, well.
No, we're going to save that one for last because it was a big one.
Oh, well, okay. We even save it for another episode, to be honest.
Oh, no, but just a little taste.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I'm being bossy in person.
Folks, the things I put up with. All right, let's talk about Sky Team, which I always want to call Sky Plane. I don't know why. Sky Plane, Sky Team. Now, Sky Team is one that I heard buzz about. This is published by...
This one is...
Scorpion Masqué.
Scorpion Masqué, was it? Yes, Scorpion Masqué.
Right?
Because this is tricky because they all kind
of
got
Hachette,
together.
Under the Hachette brand. Yeah, under the Hachette family.
Yeah, you were right. Scorpion
Masqué. Scorpion Hachette. We've got...
yeah, so we have... here we go.
Open it up a little bit more.
Hold on, everybody. We're looking at who has designed said game.
Is it on the cover?
Hey, balls, you should. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I was going to say it loud and proud. I designed it. I did the art.
They did, and they put it on the cover.
And
that's why,
It was on the front. So this is designed by Luc Raymond. And illustrations are by Eric Hibbler and Adrien Rivez. And
Yep. So Sky Team, 2-player only, cooperative game about safely landing a plane at an airport. Woo! Stressful.
Yeah, just a little.
So really the main mechanism is dice allocation. So we've got this board and there are different tracks that are doing things like your distance from the airport, other planes that you have to avoid, your engine strength, your I don't know the proper terminology, but how even your plane is, and your landing gear and your flaps. And so you're rolling dice. There's limited communication, and you're allocating dice to keep things in balance, to unlock certain things, to get planes out of the way, so that by the end, by the time you reach the 7th or the 8th round, I can't remember, your plane is all fully landed, geared, planes are cleared away, you're at the right speed, you've got your brakes ready, so you can safely land the plane.
Yes. I actually played this game when I was at the Gathering of Friends.
Ah, okay.
When I first played it. And j'ai pris le jeu en français, totalement en français. So I learned the game all in French. And I was a little confused. And I was like, is it my French? I'm like, no, it wasn't the French. It was just some... And I talked to Suzanne about this. I have a hard time sometimes with games that are not super complicated, but if things are just not in an order that my brain gets, and it's not a theme that like connects. Like when I played with Suzanne, she had to give me a story. Like if the plane's coming down, it's going too fast. You need to make sure your brakes are up. And do you know what I mean? Because the board has different things like your engine and your brakes. I'm like, oh, I get it. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but I found this game is like that. If you add a story to it, it does help get your brain around it. It's not hard. I just find some of the, you have to be between this number and this number and this happens. Just didn't quite get it. But the game itself is a lot of fun. It also lets me know that maybe I should never pilot a plane. Ever.
But I'm saying never, never, never for Mandi, but also never, never, never for me. I did, again, I've only played this once. I haven't had the previous play with you. this was getting a fair amount of buzz. Like I talked to a lot of people at Gen Con. Like I really want to get Sky Team. Like Sky Team was on their wish list, their shopping list for Gen Con. So kind of a hot game at Gen Con, and I'm really glad we managed to get a copy because I enjoy it.
Yeah,
and I found it stressful. I did find it stressful, and I found that there were moments that it was challenging. And it's not zero communication; you get to plan, but then once you start with your dice, you're doing it
right.
Again, I really enjoy playing cooperative games with you, Mandi. I think we team up well, and so that was an enjoyable thing as well. So I can see where a lot of people are going to enjoy Sky Team. I like the theme of it. I think that that's in common, and I thought I could see how they applied it in a really nice way. Now, building the board.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Because it's got this board, it's multiple layers, but you have to assemble it yourself, which isn't very common. I can understand why they did it that way, but you are pulling sticker sheets off and sealing things, and I found that nerve-wracking.
Well,
you were doing it.
Because, okay, first of all, I have nails, for those who don't know. These are actually shorter than what they usually are, and I'm not saying that's, an excuse or whatever, but peeling some of these little stickers, they're almost like bumpers on the board, so it elevates it a little bit, and I was like, the instructions were clear, but it's just one of those things, you just are you sure? I just want to make sure, because once it's stuck there, it's going to be really difficult to change it if it's wrong. So when I played the game, I didn't see any of that the first time. So then
because it was all assembled,
right? So I get it. I was just that was a lot. But the game itself, very much enjoyed. So that is Sky Team.
Yeah. All right, let's jack some apples, Mandi. With Applejack. Now, this is not. A lot of the games we just talked about are pretty new. I mean, Dorf Romantik's always been out, but Sky Team's fairly new. Waffle Time, Point City are all fairly new. Applejack is another game that has been out for a little while, and I desperately wanted a copy because the designer is Uwe Rosenberg, one of my favorite game designers, along with a lot of you out there. And the artist is
Lukas Siegmann, and published by Stronghold Games. Or I guess in Europe, was it under Stronghold as well?
The Game Builders, I think.
The Game Builders. There we go.
Yeah. So Applejack is a 1 to 4 player tile laying game, I guess. Right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. And all about collecting apples. It's so pastoral. I am enjoying. I know not everybody does, but I am enjoying this shift to more pastoral. Themes like butterflies and birds and collecting apples. I don't know. I find it appealing. Although I found because of that, you're collecting different types of apples. It was fine. I do wish the apple illustrations or icons were a little more differentiated from each other.
Yes, I would agree.
But basically, you've got a board. You lay out apple tiles around it. Tiles have a various number of apples on it of different various types. There are also beehives because we collect apples, but this is really a honey game because beehives represent honey and you win by having honey at the end of the game.
Good point.
And honey is a currency because to purchase tiles so that you can place them face up, you have to purchase them with honey. When you connect hive icons on a board between two tiles, you're going to get honey often for that. Every once in a while, you're going to hit a scoring moment where you're going to count groupings of a specific apple type and score points for those. And so on and so forth. It's pretty straightforward, pretty quick, huh?
Yeah, I would say so.
A real track. Light. It's definitely one of Uwe's light games. I look forward to playing it more. I look forward to playing it solo. Apparently, it plays solo, and I really would love to play it solo. But first impressions were reasonably strong on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to add.
Yeah, but I wasn't oh my gosh, this is...
No, is it...
But solid. It's this is a solid, pleasant game. I look forward to exploring more.
I think it'll be more accessible because when people think of Uwe games, they think of the ginormo, big, heavy 3-hour, 2-hour
Feast
games.
of Odin or Le Havre.
Right, and I mean, this is because I think you had another game that came out, another 2-player one, Fairy. I don't remember the name. I'm sorry, but it was like a fairy tale.
With the pathing. Yeah.
Right, with the pathing, and that one was okay for me.
Would you put this in the same kind of complexity, depth category as something like his Polyomino series, like Cottage Garden?
I think this is even
lighter.
Okay. Do you know what I mean? The rules and stuff are very straightforward. Now, I have to be careful when I say lighter. Does it necessarily mean it's going to be easier to win? Not necessarily. I just think the steps of explanation might be a little less. So there you go. Applejack.
All right. Another game that we got to play, that we played, and I'm actually really looking forward to playing this with a higher player count, is a game called Romi Rami.
Love it.
Romi Rami?
Romi Rami.
Okay.
There are reasons, and I'll talk about it afterward. So this is designed by Antoine Lefebvre, and illustration and graphic design is Fanny Saunier.
Great.
Okay.
So Romi Rami is a small card game, plays 2 to 4. It's very, very quick. Now, Mandi, when we started going through the rules, you were like, oh, this feels familiar, right?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is specifically so I had a colleague who is French-Canadian, and she said this is very popular. This is what she told me. It's very popular in French-Canadian households, I'm sure, and other people in Canada love it too. And it's a game called Joker Rummy, Jokr Rummy. So it's like a style of like gin rummy. And for me, it had a similar vibe. It's not the exact same game, but very similar. So if anybody plays Joker Rummy, I want to know what your thoughts are if you decide to play this game, but I'm here for it. But anyway, I'll let you
Sure. Quick overview of Romi Rami. It is a card game. You have cards with numbers, with suits on it. It's clovers, diamonds, hearts, and cherries. It's just 4 suits with cards that range, I think, from 1 to 6, maybe. And then you have goal cards or market cards. And market cards are looking for things like a pair of 4s and a pair of anything else, or a run of a 3-card one, 1, 2, 3,
right.
4, 5, 6,
Mm-hmm.
and a 3 of a kind, or a ton of different mixes.
Yeah, which is cool.
And then the bottom of the card will have a specific suit icon on it, which is super duper important.
Mm-hmm.
On your turn, you can take up to 3 cards from the market, and you can take, as long as they share an attribute. So you can take all of one number or all of one suit. Your choice, and up to, you don't have to take them all. And then if you are able, you may fulfill one of the 4 face-up market cards by turning in cards. The cards will be worth points. They also have some interesting endgame kind of majority for some endgame goals going on there. But the twist that I really, really like is that when you turn in a market card, every card that you use to complete that goal that matches the suit, you don't have to match the suit, but every card that you turn in that matches the suit of the goal card, you get to keep for extra endgame points, and the rest of them get discarded.
Yep.
I thought that was a super clever twist.
I like that too.
I love simple, straightforward card games. I mean, it plays 2 to 4. I'm sure I'm going to be complaining. I wish it went up to a higher player count.
Sure.
But that is definitely one I think my game groups will really enjoy that, and I look forward to cracking that one open.
I think Mumsy will like this one.
Yeah,
so.
You even said that when we were playing. You're like, this is a game I can get my mom to play.
She likes it because then she'll go on about how she can kick my butt. So Romi Rami, Mumsy, looking forward to seeing if you can. We'll see.
And I think our second to last game we'll just talk about real quickly here. Is one I actually backed. Now, we did receive a preview copy at Gen Con, but I actually had already backed it. So go figure.
I didn't know,
because it was on Kickstarter.
Yes, it was.
And this is a game called Tesseract. It is published by Smirk and Dagger Games, which is sometimes Smirk and Laughter Games.
Is it really?
Depending.
I didn't know that.
I'm not quite sure but like with games like Boop that they also published, I know that they were trying to soften maybe the stabby vibe that they have. So this is Tesseract.
Okay, this is designed by James Fernhaber, and illustration is by Dennis Freitas.
And Tesseract is a wild table presence game, and it is another cooperative game.
Yeah. I'm on a roll here.
Another one that, Mandi, I thought we did we play very well together. Tesseract, the centerpiece is actually this cube of dice that you form. You get like this stand. It's got a plastic like spinner.
Yeah.
And then you get all these dice. They're standard D6s, but they're customized to look sci-fi. And you pour it into this tube that creates a cube, because ultimately you're going to be pulling dice off of this cube. You want to fill this board with one of every, there's 4 color dice, so you want one of each value in every color on this board to win the game and save the world. Dun, dun, dun. And you're taking various actions. It is cooperative, so you're taking dice, you're trying to create sets on your personal board that you can turn in so that you can turn in dice there. Meanwhile, dice are also coming off and filling out this primed area. When the primed area gets full, bad stuff happens, and when you get breaches, and if you get too many breaches,
it's bad.
You're going to go down. yeah, I mean that's kind of the very, very high level. There's a
Yeah.
lot more to the game, and what we'll maybe talk about it later. But I love how this game positions it. So if you win, which is filling up that board, the Tesseract is deactivated and the world is saved. Oh, no pressure. But then players lose if the breach token moves to the last space. The breach rips a hole in space-time that destroys us all. Jeez Louise. And then if you if there are no cubes on the Tesseract at the end at a certain point in the game, the Tesseract detonates and we are removed from existence.
So intense.
Jeez, Smirkin' Dagger, what the heck?
Ruh-roh.
The drama. The drama. But yeah, so I mean that's Tesseract. We played one game of that with a fancy little spinny thing and all the dice. Mandi, any thoughts on that?
No, it was good. I wasn't sure. I had seen it on Kickstarter and I had backed it and then I didn't back it and I was like, I don't know if my friends are gonna play it. But after playing it, I think you're right. Like I think they will enjoy it. I wasn't sure if the dice kind of swirly thing was gonna be gimmicky, but it actually kind of like works with this whole thing. And I like that you can spin it because then everybody can see what's going on. So there you go. It does actually have a function. So the game itself is a little intense. Like I feel like there were moments where like, oh gosh, we're gonna lose. Like but I like that in the game. And that's what you want. So Tesseract for me, I think it's gonna be a good one with the game group.
Yeah, and I mean it's got that stunning table presence as well. So definitely a fun one to explore in the future as well. So some really positive stuff there. The last game that we played, we spent a lot of time kind of digging back in.
To be fair, we had to relearn it because I hadn't played it for a while. Suzanne hadn't played it for a while. And it's one of those games where if you don't play it within a certain amount of time, you have to relearn it. And it's a lot. So it's like part of the whole Too Many Bones kind of area, but it was Unbreakable. And it's by Chip Theory Games. And
part of their Too Many Bones line.
Correct. And I played with one of the new characters, which I don't know what I was thinking, but I played with one of the more complicated ones because I wanted to see how it worked. And then I think you played with one of the characters
that comes in the box, right? So two characters come in the box, two new characters come in the box, and then they are also releasing separate standalone characters that you can mix in as well. And I got a couple of those as well.
Right. So we just wanted to dabble in a bit. And the reason why I'm not going to go into too much details because we're probably going to talk about it next podcast, but we just wanted to say that if you're familiar with Too Many Bones, it follows the same suit. It's just there are some slight differences with these rocks and lava. What was that? Anyway. I was a little angry because there were a couple battles that I literally, you're dead. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing I could do. So
yeah, we died a lot.
Yeah,
we died a lot. We did not win. But we had fun dying. Yeah, and I mean, the game opens up and you're turning over your first encounter card and it opens up with like the worst lava pun ever. So that set me off right away. It's like the title of the encounter was Magnanimous. Like magnanimous, but it's magnanimous. I don't know. I'm watching you Chip Theory Games. I don't know about you on these. So
it's one of those ones we're going to play again. We're going to see if we can try and bang out another game before I leave. If not, we'll sort it out. But Unbreakable is one that we enjoyed. I was a little salty because I died and didn't get to fight in a couple of things, but I'll let it go and redeem myself the next time we play.
Get good, Mandi.
I know, apparently.
And another cooperative game. Holy cow.
Actually, that was like a theme for us.
So many cooperative games.
The only game I think we played was the Romi Rami. That was Applejack.
Oh, no, Point City. Waffle Time. No, we played a lot of cooperative games.
Well, but we did.
It just feels like we played a lot of unusual amount of cooperative games for us as well. But I find the latest cooperative games that have come out in the last 5 years or so appeal to me so much more than maybe the first few rounds of cooperative games a decade ago. So
that's true. Yeah. So they're stepping it up. What can we say?
Woo! All right, folks. Well, that was our whirlwind kind of recap of our Gen Con experiences.
Yep.
And some games that Mandi and I have been able to play together in person, which is a rare treat for us. So hopefully you enjoyed this slightly different episode for us and our insights. We will be talking more about all these games in the future as we play them with our game groups and things like that. But certainly if anything stood out and you have any questions about any of the games, you are welcome to, or if there's any ones you are hoping we'll talk about first, or if you got to try them at Gen Con, you can let us know. I know I've been terrible about getting the episodes up. It's traveling and all that other stuff, so I'm sorry. but you're welcome to email us at saltandsassgames@gmail.com, or you can join us on our Board Game Geek Guild. That's Guild 4131, and chime in there. I promise I will get the threads up. I'm so sorry, but please don't hold that against us. And of course, we are on all the social medias, Mandi, as well.
Yeah, so you can find us, here on the YouTube.
If you're watching.
If you're watching, yes, sorry. So if you watch the podcast on YouTube, and we are also on Twitch, and that's Salt and Sass Games. We're also on the Twitter, but our name's a little bit different there. It's Salt and Sass Games. Trust me, it's our account, and I spell it wrong all the time. So that's Salt and Sass Games. If you're looking for me, you can find me on the Twitter, the Instagram, Tumblr, Blue Sky under 613 Mandi, and that's Mandi with an I.
And you can find me on all the social media sites, including Blue Sky, as at 425 Suzanne. Mandi, I'm just so glad you're here. Thank you so much.
Me
I know
too.
traveling is stressful and you're taking time off work, but I love having you here.
No, it's great. I'm so happy to be
here. We got
here.
a few more days with you here too, so we're gonna be cranking out more games
Yes.
as well. I'm
More
very
games.
excited.
More Diablo, more Love Island.
Help me, save me, help me. I know, it's fine. And folks, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this kind of weird episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We really appreciate you. I also want to say thank you. I actually, maybe I don't know, we hadn't talked about this a lot, but I actually had a number of folks who are listeners or watchers of the podcast come up to me at Gen Con. And if you are one of those people, thank you. I hope that I was pleasant to you, and I want you to know it's so meaningful. It's really impactful to have somebody tell you, no, I actually listened to your podcast. That's
exactly.
Oh my gosh, what a feeling.
Super nice. Absolutely.
And so thank you. I mean, when we say at the end of the show, thank you for being part of our extended gaming family and letting us be part of your extended gaming family. We really mean it. And it is a place like a convention that we get that rare kind of in-person connection. And it was amazing.
Absolutely. We appreciate it.
So until next time, stay healthy, stay hydrated, and play a lot of games, folks.
Yeah.
I know we will.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.
Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This episode was sponsored by Druid City Games, where player experience comes first. Check out all of their great games at druidcitygames.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, please check us out on coffee.com/saltandsassgames. Thank you for your support. We are also a part of the Goonhammer Media Network. Check out more of their content on media.goonhammer.com. Salt and Sass is produced with love by Suzanne and Mandi, and we'll be back next episode with more salt, more sass, and more games.